Hello and welcome into this week's K&N Pro Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from R&N. On today's K&N Rewind, we're looking back at Friday night's Casey's General Store 150 laps, 131.2 miles around the 7/8 mile Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. This was actually not as good of an Iowa race as I expected. Generally, Iowa races are fairly good, but I don't know. I wouldn't say this was a bad race, but this wasn't all that exciting. We just kind of had one driver that kind of ran away with it, which you can't really fault anybody for that. If somebody hits the setup, well, that's just how it works. That being said, with this being a crossover race between the East and the West, the K&N East teams kind of handed it to the K&N West teams in this race. Between GMS, DGR Crosley, and Rev Racing, they kind of handed it to Sunrise Ford and Bill McAnally Racing. As you'll see when we get to the results, other than Derek Kraus, who kind of has become an East driver this year as much as he has a West driver, other than Derek Kraus, the West drivers really weren't heard from all that much. You'll see a couple in the top 10, but it's mostly East drivers, which actually surprised me just a bit. 7 caution flags in this race for a total of 31 laps. First one came early at lap 15 for Debris. Again at lap 29 for Debris, this time in turn 2. Lap 33, the 16 of Derek Kraus spun in turn 4. That put him far back in the pack, and he had to battle back for the rest of the race. Had a NASCAR planned break at lap 50 and another one at lap 100. Nothing in that little second segment of note that would cause a caution. Another debris caution at lap 128. And finally at lap 142, the 6th of Jagger Jones spun off turn 4 off the nose of his teammate Trevor Huddleston. 4 lead changes in this race among 3 drivers. Sam Mayer led from the pole for the first 53 laps until we got that first break, and everybody comes down pit road. Tanner Gray assumed the lead on this caution, led for 3 laps. Sam Mayer retook the lead on lap 57. Led for the next 48 laps until the second break caution. Chase Cabry took the lead off the restart on this caution and held the lead for 5 laps. But then Sam Mayer retakes the lead on lap 110. Sam Mayer was so fast in this race. I think Chase Cabry was the only one that could really run with him. Derek Kraus might have been able to, but we never really got to see that as he started, I think, further back than what he should have. Had to battle toward the front, then gets spun there late in that first segment, and then has to battle back from a lap down. Finally gets back close to the front at the end of the race, but we never really got to see what Derek Kraus really could do in this race. That being said, though, Sam Mayer again did retake the lead on lap 110 and led for the final 41 laps. Sam Mayer takes his second K&N Pro Series victory of the season, this time in Iowa, leading 142 of the 150 laps in this race. Absolutely dominant run out of that 21 car. And I think we're starting to see a pattern here. When Sam Mayer hits the setup right, or when he's confident enough at a track, if he doesn't lead all the laps, he's going to lead almost all the laps. Because we saw the same thing out of him at Bristol when he led every single lap in that race. When Sam Mayer's got the confidence, when he's got the setup, he's going to go out there and just run away with the race. That's just how it's going to happen. That's how it's happened in both wins he's had this season, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Ty Gibbs was able to battle up to the second position at the finish of this one. I don't know that he really had anything to run with Sam Mayer, but he was able to make it up to second after starting from the rear. He kind of made it exciting in this one, starting in the rear, so he had to pass a lot of cars in this race, and that did make for some good entertainment out of Ty Gibbs. A good run out of Ruben Garcia in third this week in the 2 car. Of course, with this being a crossover race, Jagger Jones runs the 6 in the West Series for Sunrise Ford. So Rev Racing, since they had the 2 available as one of their numbers, they just swapped Ruben over to the 2 for this race. I assume it'll be the same way for Gateway coming up in the next crossover race. I'm not sure, but I assume that's how that'll work. Derek Kraus is able to battle back for a 4th place finish, and Chase Cabry, who ran second most of the race to Sam Mayer, slipped back to 5th on the final restart. Rest of your top 10 were Tanner Gray, Drew Dollar, Trevor Huddleston, Spencer Davis, and Max McLaughlin. Now notice here in this top 10, we only have 2 K&N West drivers in this top 10, Derek Kraus and Trevor Huddleston. And Derek Kraus, like I said at the beginning, you can almost count him as both an East and a West driver, since coming into this race, he was leading the East points. He has run every race on the East side and was leading the East points. So I don't know that you can really necessarily call Derek Kraus a West regular and not call him an East regular. Trevor Huddleston 100% is a West regular. So if you really want to get specific here, we've only got 2 K&N West drivers in the top 10 in this race. The other 8 are K&N East drivers. I think that's a testament to the strength of the K&N East series right now, which is amazing given that the East has already had to cancel one race this season because they didn't have car counts. And I think that speaks volumes to the point that I made a few weeks ago, that car count isn't everything. You don't have to have 30, 40 cars in a race to have a good race. You just have to have talented drivers and good cars that they can drive with, and that's all you need for a good race. Sure, once we've got the racing good, then we can worry about filling the field back out again. But at the same time, when you've got talented drivers like this, you don't necessarily need any more cars than that. If you've got good racing going on with 5 cars, you don't really need any more than 5 cars in a race. It'll look kind of weird if there's only 5 cars on the track, but as long as they're racing really well, you don't really need more than that. And I know I'm probably going to get some hate for that. Bring it on. Because I stand by that. And I mean, I think that was proved in this race. Car counts have been low in the K&N Pro Series, but the strength of these drivers, especially on the K&N East side, is definitely there, and they can put on some good racing. Final page 11th through 20th, Jagger Jones, after his spin, rebounded to 11th. Haley Deegan was just off all night. Never really, I don't know that she ever even cracked the top 10. I don't remember ever seeing her in the top 10. She came home in the 12th position. Then final car on the lead lap was Colin Garrett in 13th. Brittany Zamora down here, shotgun on the field in 20th. She was running at the end of the race, but just had some mechanical issues throughout the race that hindered her, and was never really there all day, as she was slow in practice, slow in qualifying, and then had mechanical issues in the race. I don't know if the mechanical issues were what hindered her all day, as in, like, that's why she was slow in practice and qualifying. I assume that's probably the reason, and they just kind of came full circle in the race and really presented themselves as a problem. But nevertheless, Brittany Zamora, I'm sure, is glad to get out of Iowa after this poor Friday there in Newton. But that's your results from the Casey's 150. Working on a Sam Mayer interview. Not sure when exactly that's going to get done, but when it is, it'll be linked down below in the description. But if you're already subscribed and you get your notifications turned on, you'll know when that interview comes from Sam Mayer. Alright, so let's look at your point standings. Since this was a crossover race, it did affect both the East standings and the West standings. So let's first take a look here at the K&N East standings following this race. Derek Kraus came in leading the points by 2 over Sam Mayer. We leave Iowa with Sam Mayer having a 6-point lead over Derek Kraus now in the K&N East series. Chase Cabry came in 6 points off the lead. He is now 12 back in the 3rd position. Tanner Gray still sits in 4th, 22 back, and Max McLaughlin still holding down a top 5 spot, 34 back, but only 4 points to the good in holding that top 5 spot over Spencer Davis and Drew Dollar. So we've got a decent battle here shaping up in the K&N East series. Not only for the lead, but just for a top 5 position as well here between Max McLaughlin, Spencer Davis, and Drew Dollar. Sam Mayer, Derek Kraus, Chase Cabry, I think is going to go right down to the wire as a really good championship battle, and Tanner Gray may even sneak his way in there as well. I wouldn't necessarily count him out just yet. So we'll flip over now to the K&N West standings following this race after they are now 8 races into their season. Derek Kraus extended his lead over Haley Deegan after she did not have a good night there in Iowa. Kraus now holds a 16-point lead over his teammate Deegan. Trevor Huddleston still holds down the third position, 23 points back. Only a point to the good, though, over his teammate Jacker Jones in fourth, 24 back. And Brittany Zamora has dug a substantial hole now. They're in the fifth position, 61 points off of her teammate Derek Kraus. But that's your point standings for both the K&N East and West following their crossover race in Iowa. One other crossover race coming up here in, I believe, a little over a month at Gateway, where we'll see both K&N East and West drivers go head-to-head at Gateway as well, so that'll be fun coming up here in, I believe it's a little over a month. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but I want to say it's coming up here fairly soon. Either way, though, that will be a good race. August 24th. So, yes, here in about a month, we'll have another crossover race there in Gateway in East St. Louis. So, that'll be a fun one. Xfinity Rewind coming up late tonight. And then a Truck Rewind coming up later today as well. Their race going on right now as this gets recorded. So, that should go up here later today at some point. What has happened already has been exciting. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting finish to that race as well. Definitely the polar opposite of yesterday's ARCA race, which we do have a rewind show up for, as well as a winner interview with Christian Eckes. So go check those out if you haven't already. Both are very good, I think. And then Cup Series Rewind coming up late Sunday night for their race in Pocono tomorrow as well. So we got lots of stuff coming up for you this weekend, and lots of stuff that's already gone up. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the NASCAR K&N Pro Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.